in between these cuties and my Edgehill jammies. We are coming live to you from our home. Spencer, actually over here, who's joining us right now, he gave us the idea of how to juggle being like the quote unquote cool parents, with juggling of being the still being parents. We're going to kind of talk about what it was like when we had all of our kids in the house. When I say all of our kids, we pretty much had all of Sydney's kids and friends.
Sydney didn't have kids.
Nope. All of Sydney's friends and all of Sophie's friends in our house at all times. So I kind of look at like they were all of our babies when they were growing up.
And we're still stuck with Spencer.
And Spencer's still in the house with us. He still hasn't left. So Spence, when you were growing up, obviously, the thing was...
You played high school football. Let's talk about that for a second.
I did, yeah.
We'll talk about the parenting.
I don't know what that has to do with.
Well, but let's just talk a little bit about your history in high school.
My high school football career?
Yeah, like you played at Stevenson. It was a real program.
Yeah, Stevenson was a really good football program, and I was fortunate enough to be on the freshman B team of the Stevenson. It was a no-cut sport. Football was a no-cut sport.
Yeah.
And so I made the cut.
It was no cut.
No cut. I made the cut.
What position?
I played cornerback and wide receiver for my brief stint, and I had flat feet, so I don't have a very good 40-yard dash, so I didn't really get a whole lot of playing time. And then I also
did you get timed in the 40?
We really are not staying topic.
We'll get to the
I ran a 5'6" 40, and I was about 100 pounds.
You
so
ran a 5'6".
It wasn't good. There were like linemen who ran about.
Dude, there's like massive.
I had flat feet. The coach called me a baby giraffe because he said I ran like a baby giraffe. Anyway, I got injured. I got injured a lot, so I didn't play a lot.
Okay, anyway, so clearly Spencer did not follow through on his football career. But when the kids were growing up, we kind of opened up our house so everybody felt like they had a place to go. And the kids pretty much were all really raised in our house. We were very fortunate because we were close to all of our kids' besties. And it was like, it's a hard thing because you want to be a parent. I'm totally the cool parent, by the way. And then you want to be like a good parent and you want to be a cool parent at the same time, so you have to like figure that out. So like from a kid's perspective, Spence, tell us what it was like.
Now he's a man.
Are you saying what was it like walking into your house as a kid?
Yes, what was it like walking into our house as a kid?
It was the most incredible. It was like going to Chuck E. Cheese. Like it was like
we gave everyone a token.
Teenage Chuck E. Cheese. You were like, what's going to happen? Like who's gonna make out with who? What is going to be consumed? What's going to happen? So much can happen, like in a basement with your friends.
So it was like the Joseph's Gone Wild.
It was like camp.
It was like camp.
It was like camp.
It was camp.
But it was very controlled.
It was controlled, right?
It was controlled chaos.
It was controlled chaos.
It was controlled chaos.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Very controlled. Yeah, we wanted to create a safe space, like you said, so because it was going to happen somewhere, so we decided to open up our house, which is how you grew up and I grew up, anyways. But to continue that on, just maybe with a little bit more parental oversight than you had or I had. So, but with that said, I'm sure Spencer's smiling back. He's looking back at me. He's like, well, where was the parental oversight?
I can't believe everything worked out. I can't believe nothing ever went extremely wrong.
I mean, we had some moments. But here's the thing. So, like, when you guys were growing up, and I will say we were very fortunate because the parents were all friends. You know, the kids were all friends and the parents were friends. So when you guys all started to, let's say that you wanted to drink or start actually telling us the truth when you started drinking, I'll go with that. The parents had come together, all of us, and kind of made that decision going, we're not going to put our head in the sand. Some parents did, but most of us did not put our head in the sand and said, what should we all do? Our kids are starting to drink. Let's all make a decision together. Are we in this together or aren't we in this together?
That was like your mantra on the freshman football team. Go team. Are we all in this together or are we not in this together?
We're all in this together.
Go flat feet. For everyone who has flat feet out there, by the way, you do have a shot in life because look at what has happened here. 3 years into Nashville and he's homeless.
And he's still living with us.
And Tara bought him dinner again tonight, which was
I will always buy my baby dinner.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, he's not going to fully be homeless. I will decorate whatever box you're living in, I promise.
Absurd. He's out there after dinner.
No, he's not. Josh keeps throwing him out. Anyway, the kids would come over, and obviously we made sure that we were in the know for the most part of what was going on. You guys were very open about coming to hang on our couch, you know, telling Josh and I all this stuff that was going on. I'm sure there were things that you kept from us, but I think for the most part, you guys, we kept everything very open. We always wanted you guys to feel like you had a home to go to, that you could go to us for anything, and that it felt very welcoming. And so, what was great about it is even if Sid and Sophie weren't necessarily home, all of their friends would still come and hang on the couch and like wait for them to arrive. Like they just
would show up.
You just would show up.
Walk in.
Everyone had the code to our garage. I half the time had to be careful if I was naked because people would just like walk into the house. For us, it's that like we had to be really careful of like really trying to be a parent and truly being the parenting and also making it feel like we have made it comfortable so we're not feeling like we're strict parents or anything, but they have a place of safety. And so that was like, that's a challenge for people when they're...
Absolutely. And making sure that all, as many parents are on board with it as possible. Not be viewed like the party house, but definitely we were one of the houses out of probably a few of them. There's your beeping.
Yep.
I'm cooking chicken, everyone. Greek chicken. So with that said, there were a few houses, and we were one of them. Mm-hmm. And I think we were the one that they mostly gravitated towards. But that was also because I think our girls, more Sydney than Sophie, wanted their friends over. She wanted her friends over, and they were very comfortable.
Well, they all hung out together.
Yeah.
Sydney's group and Sophie's group. You guys were always very good. Like you guys all hung out together. Spencer
had a crush on a couple of Sophie's friends.
Spencer did. Sophie stopped talking to Spencer a few different
Maddie,
times.
I'm not
There's some moments. There's some moments that like
Maddie.
there was a little bit of a crossover. Spencer, tell everybody some
one page.
Some of the interesting stories that took place in our basement that we did start to find out later on.
Well, there were definitely some encounters. I had a friend, Adam, who I think really pushed the boundaries of what you could do in a basement. I was always sometimes shocked to hear. Like the basement was open, so there wasn't a door. There was like a little nook, like half the basement, but it was wide out in the open. But I remember there being several times where someone would be saying that it would be like, "Oh, don't go back there," like Adam's doing. Adam and so are back there, and you're like, "Really?" Like just out there. You're just like, okay, like we're just gonna keep it on this side of the basement. Adam.
So we had to throw our couch away.
Spencer had a nice night one night.
Did
with a bottle of wine.
Oh yeah,
That was good. That was an early on one.
New Year's, there was a situation at New Year's, I think it was 2015 New Year's, going into 2016 maybe, where it was one of my first time, I think I was given a bottle of Moscato, and I drank the bottle of Moscato, and I didn't know that it took some time for alcohol to kick in, so I was like, I just have like a really good tolerance. Like I just can handle my liquor really well, so I started throwing back some shots, and then maybe about like 11:30, completely blacked out. Threw up everywhere. Threw up on my friend Sam. Threw up on your carpet. Sorry about that, guys.
It's okay. Sam got the brunt of it. She literally, the vomit was, Sam was a good friend to you that night. She caught all the vomit.
I don't.
Your parents were very nice as well. They
offered for the carpet cleaning.
Yeah, I think they paid.
Yeah. You're like, it's okay.
For the carpet
it's
cleaning.
Your brother went flying down the stairs and put a hole in our wall.
He did.
So like too. From one night,
that was like when you first met you guys.
Yeah.
Like
Well, and the irony and all that too is that like, so my house had the same situation with Joshy when we started dating, because Josh fell into my house wasted when I was younger, and then like took down my whole bathroom. And then we made Jordan. He comes into the family, and he took down our basement.
We trashed your house. Like
yeah, it was.
The house was pretty used. It was pretty beat up.
We would like Sharpie the ceiling.
Yeah, we did.
Nate was here.
Yeah. But here's the thing.
Booze
were hidden in the ceiling.
Yeah, we did that.
But here's the thing, like, what's so great, too, I mean, again, there was a comfort zone of making everybody feel like they had a place to come, and it sounds chaotic, but the kids made memories, and all kids make mistakes, and they learn from them, and the kids had a good time, and they were safe, and when stuff took place, if anything ended up happening that would have gotten them in trouble or anything like that, they always were super respectable. They would never drive when they're drinking. They would never.
Took everyone's
keys were always taken.
Like we would never let anyone do anything that would be, disrespectful or whatever. And actually, it was very funny because one of the things Sydney, before she would ever have you guys, she would send you a text, a list of rules.
Yes.
Do you remember those? And everyone would have to sign the rules, on the text of all the things that you had to follow when you would come to our house, which was great. But for us, like, there was so much enjoyment for us as parents to be able to have the house full of kids.
Absolutely.
Because you guys were everything to us, and it didn't matter morning or night. Like, everybody was around. Somebody was around. Somebody was always around.
We got rid of most of them. We still have one like major fungus.
You guys threw down. You guys had food out. You guys had like mugged pizzas to the house, fruit. Like, it was awesome.
It was good.
We did. We always had food.
Were you guys ever nervous? Like, were there ever points where you guys were like, oh boy, like, this is...
I don't think so.
No.
I think
you guys are good kids.
Yeah, I think you were all very respectful. Yeah, generally speaking. I think that you guys were always very respectful, and you guys never really pushed the... I mean, you probably did without us knowing, I'm sure, but if we came down or if we texted or called down and said, like, it's time to, like, shut it down.
Yeah.
Like, at least you guys would be quiet, but you guys were never, like, crazy out of control to the point where Tara and I, like, looked at each other where we're like, all right, this is nuts, or
we're shooting up, like, heroin.
No.
Oh,
no, you guys were all having fun. But I think it was, it was somewhat, at least from our perspective, it was somewhat controlled fun.
I think the most destructive was Sydney's calculus party.
Yeah, you weren't there for that.
No, you were supposed to be the chaperone.
Oh, that was
I was the chaperone.
Crazy.
Yeah,
I was the chaperone.
Yeah.
That was actually crazy.
Yeah.
That was like something out of a movie. That was crazy.
Yeah,
there were so many people.
Yeah,
There was a lot of people.
There was like
that we were nervous about.
It wasn't I was supposed to be the chaperone. I was the chaperone.
Well,
there was a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people.
Yes.
Yes. So
That one
was
I was very nervous.
Yeah,
That
that
one
one
I was not very
I
nervous.
came home and I go, oh wow,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people
Like,
here.
if you stood outside and looked in, you were like, there is a huge party. Like,
Yeah,
there
were
are a
people.
ton of people, like, in this house.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Spencer, like, from a kid's perspective, like, when you look at things, and obviously you're an adult now, so if you were hosting now and you were the one that was the parent that had everyone at your house, like, from the stuff that you've seen and learned, like, what is some advice now that you would see, because you've already lived through it with being under our roof with all the other kids, but now if you're the parent, what would be advice that you would be giving?
To the kids or to other parents?
Both.
I would kind of echo some of what you guys said. I mean, I think it's good to give people a controlled environment to make mistakes. I will say, since that New Year's in 2016, that is where I learned my limits of alcohol. I've never even come close to hitting that limit again, and that night, still to this day, like almost 10 years ago, serves as a beacon of when, like, I've hit my max. But yeah, I would encourage like the kids to just, like, have fun, be safe, and know that, like, you're in an environment where you can kind of, like, relax and that it is, like, controlled, which I think is good. I would tell parents, I would say it's maybe alarming, like, now looking back at, like, when I see someone who's 15, I'm just like, you're an infant child.
Sure.
Yeah.
And, like, when we were 16, like, couldn't even imagine 16-year-olds doing what we were doing, like, at 16, because it's crazy. But like you said, like, it's going to happen anyway. So at least be happy that it's happening somewhere where they're safe and it's controlled, and if something was to go wrong, there are responsible people who are ready to, like, take action and ensure the safety of all the people who are there. Because nothing bad really, besides me, like, blacking out and, like, Jordan putting a hole in your wall and falling down the stairs, like, everything was always under control and everyone kind of, like, looked out for each other.
Yeah, yes, thank you, Spence. And I think that it's important to note that we didn't just let them just funnel in a massive amount of things.
God, no.
Yeah,
There was a rhyme or reason.
Yeah,
people were cut off.
Yeah, so, like, we would monitor as best we could. We would walk down there throughout the night and check things out.
Yeah.
And then there would be, like, shutdown times. And I'm sure that they stash things, for post-shutdown time and stuff like that, without question, would be my guess. But we tried our best to manage and monitor what was coming in and checking. We didn't really check backpacks, but we would go down there and, kind of see what was going on a few times throughout the night.
I think we were very fortunate because we were able to build up, like, a relationship with these kids that I find that they were pretty honest.
Well, they were very
with
respectful.
us, been very respectful.
Yes.
My advice would be to tell other parents when their kids are going into those teenage years, and it gets a little funky with all of them because it's sex, drugs, rock and roll, because they're trying to experiment. It's like a normal thing. But I think what's very important is to have the communication with other parents. If you are not all kind of on the same page, then it's going to get really messy.
Well, we had a rule. There was no one that could be at the house that their parents didn't know that they were at our house.
Oh, correct.
Doing that
Yeah.
for, like, hanging out for the night. So everybody who was over at our place, their parents knew that they were at our place.
Yes.
And they were locked in for the night, or their parents were coming to pick them up at a certain time.
Right.
So there were no stragglers of any sort that were ever allowed in our house in situations like that, at least to my knowledge. And so we had that on lockdown, and that was one of our rules.
It was like really fun. Like we would all sleep there, like just on the couch or upstairs or just
anywhere you find a spot.
Anywhere you find a spot, and
it
was just all like totally fine.
I
like
think it's
15 kids, like just sleeping in a basement.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, and we did want it to feel camp-like, and I wanted the food to be out, and I wanted people to hang, and I wanted the football games to be on, and I wanted everyone to have a good time with each other. But most importantly, I mean, we still were parents, and I think that we made sure that there was a respect level. Our girls were very much on top of that too. They had said, don't come into our house and without any respect. They were very much on top of that. And all the kids, honestly, were pretty much like that. And I think it had a lot to do with, again, from my advice and from our personal situation, is the open line of communication we had with our groups of friends. Because I think that when you have that parent, I mean, there was one parent in the group that I'm not going to mention name who really thought that their daughter did nothing. And then, has gotten really wasted in situations, and Mexico got completely annihilated.
Can I say the
No,
name?
we're not saying the name.
I know.
And thought and lived in this world, and then when the child was completely annihilated, who really pretty much thought the child didn't do anything, was stunned, and everybody around him going, well, you what did you think that kid was doing? So I think the people that we surrounded ourselves with, everybody understood what their kids were getting into. And also we wanted every child to feel like they could call. Here's the thing, if you go to a party and get yourself into trouble and you feel like you can't call a parent, you're going to get yourself in a big situation. But if you feel like at any point in time, if you are at a party and you need to call your parents without getting yelled at for something, you're going to feel a lot more inclined to call them and feel secure and know that your parents, they may give you a scolding in the morning, but they're certainly not going to take care of you and make sure you're safe all night. And so I think all of us had created that, in a situation that anyone could feel safe with us no matter what. I think that's a big piece of advice to give to people, because it is hard when that's great to play around saying I'm the cool parent, but it's also important that you're the parent.
Absolutely.
It was great. It was really, especially because we went to a big high school, so there was a lot of people to compare it to, and there were a lot of kids, good kids too, who didn't have maybe that structural controlled chaos, who would go out and do the same thing in places where there wasn't that the kind of bumpers, and you would hear about bad things, so and so had to go to the hospital, so and so got arrested. When you don't have bumpers and a support system and stuff, the things that can go wrong
can definitely go wrong.
For sure.
Yeah, we definitely wanted to provide that support system. Yeah, create a safe place to have all of you there, knowing that full well that everyone was going to, at some point during high school, was going to start participating and hanging out and partying a little bit, and so giving them a safe place to come and be comfortable. And I think that, again, it came with we would not have continued to allow that to happen if that your group did not reciprocate with a great deal of respect as well. So that's also what allowed for that to be the case. Yeah, I think that there was only a little bit of backlash maybe from when Sophie came into high school. There was maybe a little bit of that some parents kind of knew what was happening. When word got out that we had a house that allowed for that to be the case, I think Sophie had to deal with some of that repercussion, in high school a little bit. But still we tried to provide the same and foster the same opportunities there as well.
We just didn't bury our head in the sand. I think that was our biggest thing. We just didn't bury our head. We know what we did when we were growing up. We know what kids do. And I think that it puts you in a really, really bad place as a parent if you bury your head in the sand, or if you say that your kid is perfect, and you know that no kid is perfect. They're going to make mistakes, because that's part of what happens. Yeah. And if they're not making mistakes in in high school, or they're petrified, or whatever their situation is, when they get to college, bad shit will happen.
I really noticed that about the really that really helicopter parents, or the parents who didn't think their kids were up to anything, or were really, really strict and didn't let them go do anything, that in college, you would just hear the most insane stuff about those kids. You'd be like, really, that one? Did what? Did ketamine? Or like some stuff you're just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like,
well, they're the ones that will start going, you know, and again, it's not in a way, it just, that's kind of what happens, is that they are the ones that, you know, just kind of implode when they go off, and they're trying all kinds of drugs, and they're trying to do all kinds of things, and there's hospitalizations, and there's all kind, and then you look at it going, I mean, I don't know what you thought was happening, but, you know, and so I think there's that happy medium of trying to, and we've always, like, I think for us, we've always been extremely open with our kids. Like, we talk about anything. Like, there's nothing that was off the table. And we also did the same thing with our kids' friends. Like, we just kind of felt like, you need a good open space, and I'm not here to judge because I've got nothing to judge. And I'm just going to be here to protect you if you guys need it, because that's the most important thing. I'd rather make sure you're safe than
provide
anything
shelter
else.
and meals.
Yeah. It's like
Clothing.
I gave birth to you. I'm supposed to give shelter, meals, and clothing to my children. And you be it.
It still is happening. So, but no, I agree with everything you both said. And I think that, again, providing that safe space, having open communication, you know, that level of respect was critical to have us to be able to be comfortable, to allow for them to have a place to go and hang out and be part of our family. So it created not just like the party atmosphere piece of it, because that was like just a small snippet of
for sure,
just like the overall greatness of, you know, their groups that you know, both girls came up with through high school, and you know, all of that, and the memories that they provided for you and I, you know, as parents. So
I loved the house noisy with kids. I loved that the doors just opened up. You heard the alarm.
They would set the
alarm beep. They would set it. They would unset it. They would set it. They would disarm it. Yeah. They would, like, you know, come in. We'd come downstairs and be like, "Oh, I see you're on the couch, and Sydney and Sophie aren't here, but you're here. So where did you come from?"
Right.
You know, but like, and then turn on the TV, and like, I loved it.
Yeah, it was great.
It made me very, very happy to have our house full of people. I love our house full of people. All right, Spence, quick question. What would be something that you would have gone to Joshy for that you wouldn't have come and told me?
Well, nothing back then. Today, maybe.
If you look at what it would have been like back then, would there have been something you would have gone to Josh for before me, or that me before Joshy?
He's going to go to you probably, because he knows you have a soft spot for him.
I would have probably gone to Tara if I had like a really bad incident with like anything relationship. I would have gone to
your entire high school
career for like different type of relationship advice.
Do you remember when we went to egg your ex-girlfriend's house?
Yes. That was crazy.
I had fun that night. That was fun.
I can't believe you did that.
Yeah.
Yes, you can.
I can. I just remember the next day, like an unnamed person came in to be like, someone like egged so and so. I was like, that's crazy. I wonder who did that. It wasn't me.
You would go to Tara for some advice on relationships.
Yeah, relationships, and I came to you guys with like a lot. With like you guys were good confidants for a lot of.
He's a good confidant. He tells the whole.
No, I don't. I do not tell everyone everything. Did he and I talk about? Absolutely not. No, most of what Spencer and I talk about still to this day remains between he and I. Yeah. There are very few things like I know where I can push the buttons or the boundaries, but everything else for the most part stays between us.
That's true.
Yeah. I like
it's better, Spencer, you come to me. I appreciate it.
I'm a very good confidant for him.
He is.
Yes.
Well,
he still doesn't have a fucking cut though, and has a massive recoupable expense. We're just going over that right now. Yeah.
Well, I was adding this meal to it too.
And tomorrow night's meal. He said to me upstairs, we were watching football, and he said, "Wait, don't we have dinner for Willie's birthday tomorrow night?" I said, "Yeah." And he wasn't on the text this morning, but I figured he was invited anyways, of course.
It's in my calendar.
And he said, "So where is it?" I said, "Hand-cut steakhouse." And all of a sudden he like lit up, and he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Yeah, dude, you're getting."
He does like meat.
I'm like, "You're getting another steak on the house tomorrow night. Don't worry." So
we do love our good Spencer.
Oh,
He's the best. Bottom line of this was, it's just like there's good memories to be had if you create
wonderful
them
memories.
with your kids.
Make sure you talk to your kids.
Make sure you talk
communicate
to your
kid. Communicate with your children. Everyone can parent differently, but from Tara's and my perspective, open lines of communication were always extraordinarily important with our girls. And that then allowed for and bred to us being able to have great relationships with their friends also. And gave us not just great memories, but our kids good memories, great memories, and their friends great memories, right?
Yes.
And
anything that's considered like a taboo subject, sex, drugs, drinking, whatever it is, they know that you should be there to protect them and that you're not advising them to do these things, but like to keep the lines of communication open for those things when they do something and mess up and feel like they have a safe place to come and talk about it with their parents that they're not going to be annihilated on, because then that puts them in a situation where they will not come to you again.
Absolutely.
Yeah, your house was a safe haven for a lot of people.
Yeah, it was a good safe place to have fun and allow for all of you to just have hopefully great memories, which
it was crazy.
Go on forever.
It was a good time.
So thank you, everyone. Spencer, as a special guest appearance tonight, we thank you for sitting in with us.
Yeah.
And it was great to have you. And Tara, anything else in closing?
No, just don't kick him out when we press stop recording.
No, we're not. No, we're going to have dinner together and then he's leaving. So, yeah.
Him and B.
See you next time.
See you next time.